Welcome to Magic Mondays. I'm Jennifer Farner, a former private banker turned transformational coach and retreat leader, a mom of 3, and your hostess of this podcast. Today we are talking about trust and trusting yourself in particular. Trust is one of those things that has to be earned. And once it is broken, it can be really difficult to trust again. And if you've ever been in a relationship where your trust was betrayed, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because it doesn't just impact that particular relationship with the person who broke your trust, but it also radiates out into your relationships that might have similar elements to them as that relationship where your trust was broken. As a society, our trust in ourselves has been broken. And that can be the most difficult the most difficult relationship to rebuild that trust is with yourself. It's also the easiest on some levels, but it can be very difficult. And let me explain what I mean. And maybe you're thinking, well, I trust myself. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, do you? Do you really trust yourself? I was contemplating signing up for a business coaching program, and it was a large investment. And I had tried several things, and I was really not sure if this was the right decision. And on the call, the coach asked me what was holding me back from the decision, whether to invest or not. And my answer was, well, I've tried a lot of things. I'm just not sure if the timing is right. And then her next question was, do you trust yourself? And it stopped me in my tracks. And so I'm asking you that question. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust yourself to do what's right by you? Do you trust yourself to make the best decisions for you? Do you trust yourself? As a mom, I think that's probably one of the first times when you start to really notice how little you trust yourself. Think about it, that mama's intuition when you have a newborn baby and something doesn't feel right. And you take your baby to the doctor and you feel like you're being an overly paranoid new mama. We've all been there. And the doctor says, it's okay, it's nothing to worry about. And it's in those moments where you learn where that lack of trust you have in yourself is reinforced. But that lack of trust starts much, much earlier. Think about as a child, just as a parent, when in the small things, when your child says, Mommy, it's cold, or my food is too hot, and your adult mind says, no, it's not. It's not cold. It's not cold. It's 80 degrees outside. Mommy, it's cold. No, you're not cold. Or I'm hot and it's freezing out there. You're not hot. You need to wear a jacket. It's in those small moments where the trust that we have in ourselves and in our bodies starts to erode. Now, I'm not saying that as a parent, parents mean well. It's not an intentional thing, but society reinforces that lack of trust as well. Think about every decision that you make and you feel the need to have it approved by someone else and have it validated, have your actions validated. We get societies around our bodies, our diet, our careers. There's so many messages that come at us from all different directions that really help erode that trust even more and even further. And so as you learn to relearn to trust yourself, it can feel like an upward battle. So where do you start? Where do you even begin? Because rebuilding trust in a romantic relationship, for example, it can be really hard. You might seek counseling and have a therapist or a coach that kind of guides you as a couple. Um, but where do you start when you're trying to rebuild that relationship with yourself? And you can hire a coach. That's what I do. But you can also just start with checking in with yourself every day. Just checking in, keeping track of how you're feeling, what are you feeling, noticing when you question a decision, or noticing. I like to start really with food, because I think food is one of those ways where one of those things that's just a part of what we do. We you know, if you have a disordered relationship with food, even if you don't have a disordered relationship with food, the way that we eat, it's a great way to tune into your body. So as an example, many of you may have been raised by parents who, forced you to clean your plate, even when you were past the stage of full. As adults now, it's no wonder we have such a society that is struggles with weight. If you were taught as a child to ignore those signals of being full, then as an adult, you're just you're you override your body's natural signals. So I like to start with food, and I take a 3-step approach. So the first is simply like building awareness and noticing, just really beginning to notice when you feel hungry, when you feel full. And it's just that starting to tune into those little subtle sensations in your body. When are you hungry versus when are you just eating because you're bored? When are you full versus when are you past full? And we all have the example of Thanksgiving, where you eat way too much and you've got to unbuckle your pants and you feel like you want to puke. But what about every other day? When do you eat past when you're full? And when are you reaching for things that, when you're tired and or bored, and so you're reaching for caffeine or sugar or quick fixes? So just starting to pay attention, just really tuning in and noticing when you feel hungry and when you feel full. The other part about noticing and being able to trust your body is noticing the foods that give you energy versus the ones that take away your energy. So what do I mean by that? Think about this. It's late afternoon, you're feeling kind of tired, and you reach for a candy bar, and you eat the candy bar and immediately you feel a little bit of a burst of energy, but then in an hour you feel tired again. Or for me, I notice that pasta makes me exhausted. And so if I have a heavy lunch, for example, I will feel tired and sluggish in the afternoon. But if I have a lighter lunch that's loaded with greens and maybe some lean protein, I feel energetic, and that gets me through the day. So starting to notice those things and noticing what you reach for when you're feeling tired, or what have you eaten when you feel really good and really energetic. Just really starting to pay attention to your body is one of the important foundations to learning to trust yourself again. And what happens when you rebuild that trust? When you rebuild that trust and you have a really solid relationship with yourself, you have a clearer vision. You make decisions without second guessing, without hesitating whether or wondering whether it's the right one or the wrong one. You don't agonize over that as much. You feel a sense of peace because you know that whatever is happening or whatever choice that you're making is the right choice. and things will unfold exactly the way they're supposed to. This can show up in your business, this shows up with your kids. You just have a sense of being grounded and secure in who you are and what's important to you and where you're going. And so, yeah, that's it for today. But just wanted to say, trust in yourself, because you're worth trusting. And believe in the miracles of life, the magic all around you. It's there. You just got to see it. Till next time.